Alrighty, fish homies. Didn't get to go fishing this week. Well, might go tonight, who knows, but probably not. Anyways, I'm out here with Bill. He's down there somewhere. We're watching freaking Sunday football, and we making boilies. Finally gonna be able to teach you guys how to make the high nutrition value boilies that will help you start getting them. So the difference between a high nutrition value boilie and a regular one is probably pretty obvious. HNV boilies are going to be high protein and have a lot of minerals and fibers and all that good stuff that the carp need to live. And when you pre-bait with them, they'll eat them and they will come back. A lot of bait companies make crappy boilies that are just like corn flour and semolina and have no nutritional value. If you bait up with those, chances are the carp are gonna eat one and be like, oh, I obviously don't need this, disgusting or whatever, and they're gonna spit it out and not eat any of the rest, or they'll eat a few and be done with it. Alright, so like I was saying, you need to have some high protein ingredients in your boilies, and usually these will be like, I think around 50% of your boilie. Anyways, we got some Super Gold 60 here that I've kind of explained in my other videos, and that's like 60% protein, but it's derived from corn. So it works good even in cold waters, and the carp around here love corn, so that's probably good. Also in there we got fish meal. This is herring meal. I think it's 70% protein, and that's from Big Carp Tackle. It's kind of hard to get fish meal in low quantities, but you can buy like 50-pound bags for pretty dang cheap. Anyways, we got 300 grams of this and 300 grams of this into our bowl already. There you can see the fish meal on top and the Super Gold's right below that. We're making a lot of boilies today, so we're gonna mix them in this 5-gallon bucket we have here. So the first and second step of adding the fish meal and the corn, the Super Gold, is done. So we're just gonna add that to our dry mix bucket. Oh, we've been making some grub too, and that's already done, huh, Bill, there?
Oh, ready to go.
Next thing we're gonna add is our binder. That doesn't have very much protein value or nutritional value. So we're gonna add 200 grams of soya flour and 100 grams of semolina next. That is going to be our binder. That's gonna hold the boilie together and make it a little stiffer, the semolina. And it's just like kind of a filler, you know what I mean? You don't wanna use too much of that because there's not very much nutritional value like I was explaining, but you need it to hold the boilie together along with the eggs and stuff. But anyways, we're gonna put that 200 grams of soya flour and 100 grams of semolina in the mix. So here we got the soya bean flour, and we're gonna be adding 200 grams of that. Like I said, this is a binder. It kind of smells weird, but don't let that worry you. 200 grams, perfect on the dot. Next up, we need 100 grams of that semolina flour. These you can all get on Amazon.com. Sometimes a grocery store has them. But that's next. We need to put 100 grams of this in there. Alright, there we go. 100 grams of semolina flour. Next up, we're gonna add a little flavor and creaminess with some tiger nut flour and some coconut flour. You can get creative with this part. It's just a little extra flavor for ya. We're just adding 50 grams of coconut flour, which I got there at Vaughn's. And we're gonna add 50 grams of tiger nut flour if I have enough. This gives it a nice creamy finish. It smells kind of weird, but the carp love this kind of stuff. This was from Amazon too. Then we're gonna go ahead and add 50 more grams. The tiger nut and the coconut mixed together though, that is a good smell. Alright, I forgot I was doubling all the ingredients. So I was going by my recipe by accident, but I'm doubling it, so I gotta go back and add a little more, you know what I'm saying? Next thing we are going to add is a little crushed up pigeon food. This is like a 20% protein, so it's not that high, but it has crushed hemp seed in it as well. It's like a 50-50 mix, so that's pretty chill. This is it right here. I have it pre-made. I'm gonna go ahead and add, let's see here, 200 grams of ground bird food. That's gonna give it a nice crunch, and the hemp seed has a lot of oils in it, so that's gonna give it a nice little attractor, and it has a lot of fiber and stuff to help with digestion for the carp. That means they can digest your food faster. That means they can eat more food. That means you'll be able to catch them faster. Next thing we're gonna add is also another high protein thing. It's powdered milk. I think it's like 80 or 90% protein or something like that. But another benefit to this is you can use it to make semi-buoyant boilies. If you use it like up to like 40 or 50%, this stuff will definitely float, and it's soluble. So this is gonna be a good attractor for your baits. When it's in the water, it will let off little attractors because it dissolves in the water. That's why they call it soluble. Anyways, this is definitely a good thing to add to your boilie. It's a high protein, an attractor, it's soluble, everything you need. So we're gonna add 300 grams of this, and it's pretty cheap, honestly. You can get better versions of like milk and stuff, but this works pretty darn good, and it's from the grocery store. I didn't even realize I'm running low on all my ingredients today. But the next thing we're gonna add is another, I believe it's soluble, the liver powder. We usually will add 60 grams, but I'm running low. I don't think I have that much. So we're gonna have to figure out something else to put in there. But we put 60 grams of the liver powder, which is also packed full of like enzymes and proteins and all these different things that the fish like, and little minerals and stuff like that. So this is gonna be another attractor and a high protein thing that's gonna get the carp feeding super aggressively. And also with that, we're gonna add some turmeric powder, if I can find it. That's gonna give it a nice little spice and be another attractor. It's also gonna help with digestion and get those carp feeding super aggressively. And with the turmeric powder, we're gonna go ahead and add 40 grams. I don't think I have enough of this either. I wasn't planning on making such a big batch today, but I figured might as well do it and just throw them in the freezer and keep them. So let's get our last of our ingredients in there. We need that 60 grams of liver powder. Let's see how much we have left. We got almost 60. Alrighty, and then we are going to add 40 grams of our turmeric powder. And like I said, this helps with attraction, gives it a little spice, and helps the carp's digestion, makes them digest faster and more readily, and hopefully it will get them eating very nice. I don't know what happened in the camera, just went out of focus, but anyways, get turmeric powder. We're going to add 40 grams. So we had just enough turmeric powder. So once again, you add 60 grams of the liver powder and 40 grams of the turmeric powder, and that's gonna give you a nice little attractor, little bonus for the fish, and keep them coming back. All right, guys, next step you're gonna wanna do when you have your dry mix ready, you're gonna wanna throw it in a plastic bag for mixing. You can use like a spoon and just mix it in a bucket, but I prefer to do it like this. It honestly just guarantees everything gets mixed really well. You just add a little air to your bag, and then you kind of close it up. So you get a little space in there, just like that. And then you shake it up. So now you can see actually how mixed it is. You can't really see any chunks of anything like that. So go ahead, get yourself a nice little plastic bag and shake up your dry mix. So for your eggs, you're kind of gonna have to experiment with. Last time I used 600 mil of eggs, but we're doubling it because we're doing a 2,000 gram mix. So I would use 1,200, but I realized it was a little too wet. So I'm gonna try and cut it down to a 500 gram or 500 mil liquid mix with the eggs, and then I'll still add some attractors. But anyways, if you're trying a new bait, I would suggest you do it in 100 gram mixes. That way it's easier to get the percentages. If you use 10 grams of something, then it's 10%. If you use 50 grams of something, it's 50%. And then once you dial that in, you can make it to a 1,000 gram or 2,000 gram mix. So hopefully with the 500 mils of egg mix that will work. I like to add it all at once, as you'll see and I've talked about before. I don't like adding it in slowly. It kind of changes the balance of the bait. You never know if you're gonna have 7 eggs or 8 eggs, or you're gonna have 20 mils of the hemp oil in there, or 15 mils, because maybe you won't use it all. So anyways, I make the exact amount every time, so hopefully it works. Alright, so we got our 1,000 mils of eggs, and next we are going to add our attractors and oils and stuff. So you can chop and change these as much as you want. I just like the hemp oil, it's a good attractor. The metamino gets them eating more aggressively and keeps them coming back. And the flavor I like to use is a top secret. And the Sweet Aid, like I said, gives it a nice finish. So we're gonna go ahead and add that straight to our egg mix, which is over here, obviously. And then I'm gonna show you how we mix that up. Alrighty, so like I was saying, I got the hemp oil from Amazon.com. You can also get these like little measuring things. They're like usually have a plunger on top. I think it's for like medicine or something. But I got these on Amazon. They go up to 20 mils, so I know I'm gonna put 2 of those in there. And here's one of the flavors I'm gonna add. I do a little mixture. This is the pineapple juice from Mainline Baits. Obviously got that on Big Carp Tackle. But you can use extracts from the store. I'm not going to show you the flavor, it's top secret, but this is just a McCormick extract from Vaughn's. I will be adding that as well. Then we have the metamino. This is from Big Carp Tackle, and like I said, it gets them going. It's like a liquid liver pretty much. So we had the powder liver and the liquid liver, so it's gonna get all up in the water in every which way. And then like I said, we have the Activate Sweet Aid. Let's see what it says about it. It says Sweet Aid is a highly soluble sweetener and taste enhancer. Use 2 ml per 500 grams of base mix. So there you go, that's what the Sweet Aid does, and I do like using it. So we're gonna throw those into our egg mix and get to going. Alrighty, so we got all of our liquids in there. Next, we're gonna use our, I think it's called an emulsifier, so we can emulsify our liquids in with the eggs, and I think that helps it get more water soluble, and it helps it mix in, obviously, so all your boilies are getting the exact perfect amount of flavor and everything like that. I'm zoomed in a little bit because I don't want the egg to splash all over the camera just in case it does. But here is my emulsifier, or it's a stainless steel blending arm. So hopefully my camera doesn't die while I'm doing this. I haven't done it in a glass bowl like this. I hope it doesn't shoot out the top. I usually use a little taller bowl, but let's see what happens here. So there we go, we got everything mixed up quite nice. There's obviously a little foam, but you can see the liquid down there, and we're gonna go ahead, put a little hole in our mix right here, and then we're gonna pour in our liquids. All right, so some people use that sieve to take out the foam, but I don't really notice a difference, so we're just gonna go ahead and pour that all in there. Shake it out, get the rest of the drippage. Then the hard part, we're gonna get our spoon and mix it all in. This part can take a little bit and it's definitely annoying. So if you're already a baker and you have a mixing machine, I suggest you use that. I need to get myself one of those pretty soon here. I've just been a little lazy. But you can see it's starting to clump together quite nice. Soon it's gonna soak in all this liquid and be nice and easy to mash together with the hand. Eventually, after you mix in all those eggs and flavors and stuff, you get yourself a nice dough ball right here. So you can use like some of this for paste to wrap around your boilies now, or you can just straight make boilies. Usually I let this sit for like 10 minutes in the refrigerator. I put it in a plastic bag, but I ran out of plastic bag. Actually, I do have one, so I'm gonna let it sit for 10 minutes. And that just makes sure all the ingredients absorb all the oils. This is kind of a drier mix, so maybe if I was redoing it, I would use like 1,100 grams of liquid instead of just 1,000, or of liquid egg instead of just 1,000. So make it a little more wetter. I'm hoping that it still rolls nice, but it's definitely a little stiff. So we will see what happens in 10 minutes. Bada bing, bada boom. This is going in the fridge. So let's get started here. I'm gonna grab my dough. Oh yeah, the dough definitely stiffened up. Since I got the extra tough sausage gun, hopefully it still shoots them out quite nice. Now I'm gonna go get my rolling table and we'll get started. First, I'm gonna break off a good chunk of dough here. I'm not sure how much will fit in the sausage gun, so this is kind of gonna be an experiment for the first one. So we basically just wanna knead it a couple times. This dough's already stiff, so I'm not gonna do it too much, but we wanna try and get the leftover air that's trapped in there. So, make a nice little sausage, and we're gonna load her right down in there. Alright, so now we have our sausage gun ready, and we can start shooting out the old sausages. What I like to do first is kind of plug the bottom up on the table or whatnot and squeeze it until it's super high pressured. That just helps get the rest of the air out and make sure the boilies roll nice and round and perfect. If this was with the other gun, this would have been a nightmare, because this is a little stiffer than I normally make it, like I was saying. But with this extra heavy gun, it works pretty dang easily. Alright, now that we got a couple sausages ready, I'm gonna show you how to use this table, and then I'm gonna get to business and make all of these out. So once you shoot it out of your gun, you're gonna put it on the table. Sometimes I like to roll them out a little bit, just to make sure they're nice and straight, and you want to line up everything on your table. It also helps if you put oil on the table first. Sometimes they don't roll very easily, like these ones probably aren't. Alright, so how I add oil is I just get a little oil in a bowl, put it on my fingers, and slide it down the tray. So now let's continue. Just like that, you got like 24 baits, maybe even more. There's a little dinner plate full of them off one foul swoop. Alrighty, so once you have some boilies made like we do here, we go ahead and set our timer on a phone for 1 minute and 20. These are like 18 or 20 mil boilies, so they're thicker, so I leave them a little longer. I usually start at 60 seconds and see what happens after that. What you can do is put them in for 60 seconds, turn it off, and if they're floating, then they're done. Once they start to float, like half of them start floating, then they're done. So that's another way you can tell how long to cook these bad boys. We're gonna go ahead and throw them in here. I already got my timer set. Give them a little swirl, make sure none of them stick together. And boom, boom, wait for them to be done. And while you're doing that, you can obviously roll out some more boilies. Alright guys, so I'm gonna show you what I'm talking about when I say floating. There you see, they are floating and they are done. So what I do here is get my little strainer, scoop them out, give them a little shake, and then I put them onto my towel or my tray with a towel on it and let them dry out. One little tip I can give you too is make sure the boilies keep moving, maybe like every couple minutes, every 5 minutes. You want to go ahead and give them a shake just like this, just to make sure all the water comes off and your boilies dry out evenly. Also, you can see the water's yellow. That's from cooking the boilies. Obviously, you don't want to empty out that water. You want to keep that good juice in there. Alright, so the last thing I want to show you are these cork balls here. This is just cork, like a wine cork obviously, but it's shaped in a ball. These are the 10mm size, so when you wrap dough around it, it's probably gonna be closer to the 12 mil size, which is cool with me. Anyways, all you have to do with these are pretty cool because you can obviously pre-bait with the boilies we just made, throw a bunch out there the night before, a couple days in a row, and then you can wrap some of that same paste around these cork balls, and it will give you cork ball pop-ups that you can use as hook baits. So these will float and present themselves a little nicer than the bottom baits, and hopefully the carp won't be wary because it matches, and you will get one right off the bat. So all we're gonna do here is open up our cork balls, obviously. Try not to spill them everywhere. I just made some of these. I can't remember if I put it in the last video or not, but my dog ate them all, so that's not good. Anyways, you can do as much or as little as you want. I usually just do a little tester piece, get one of the ones I made, break it in half, break it in fours, and then I just wrap it around like so. And what I do is kind of try and make a little square around the ball so it kind of rolls up evenly, I guess you could say. So there you can see I made it into a little cube, and then what you're going to want to do is lightly roll it in between your hands, putting more pressure on one side than the other, and that will help get you a nice round pop-up boilie. The last thing I wanted to mention is when you do cook these cork ball pop-ups, if you do, like I said, they're only like 12 mil in size, and they just have a thin layer of paste on the outside, so you don't have to do them for the full minute and 20 seconds like we did the free offerings. But usually I start with like 45 seconds. It's kind of hard to tell because they already float, obviously, but 45 seconds should be decent. Alright homies, after about an hour, probably 2 hours actually, we got them all done. We got some cork ball pop-ups, we got some mini bottom baits that I did last second, and we got a bunch of free offerings. This was a 2,000 gram mix, like I was saying. I suggest you start with a 100 gram mix, dial it in, and then go up from there. But anyways, so we have our 10 cork ball pop-ups. I think there's 10 in there at least. Then we have our nice batch of free offerings. As you can see, there's hundreds of them. There's a couple mini ones in there. I don't know if they're easy to spot. Oh, here's one right here. So that will be a little bottom bait. Just maybe I'll put like a piece of plastic corn to top it off with, and it's just a little bit smaller for the carp to eat that aren't quite used to it yet. But anyways, there we go, our 2,000 gram mix. The flies are already on it, they love it. And like I said, you want to make sure you give it a little shake every few minutes just to make sure they're all dried out. Once they're all done like this, I usually take them outside and let them sit in the sun for a day, maybe 2 days until they start to harden up, and then I throw them in the freezer. I took my shirt off because I had to take a dump and I can't find it, but I gotta make an outro to this video. Anyways, I hope you like it. A lot of people were requesting a bait making or boilie making video, or video about bait in general, so I think this one will benefit you the most. It's a little pricey making these high nutrition value boilies, but I promise you it works. Make a bunch of these, like a 1,000 gram mix, go throw it out at your favorite lake a day or two before you want to fish, and then go back there, fish with your boilies, fish with plastic corn, and they will be fired up. And like I said, with these high nutrition value boilies, if you bait them up a day or two before, they're gonna keep coming back looking for more because they want that good nutrition. And like I said, these are made also to be digested fast, maybe like 2 to 3 hours. They'll be digested all the way through the carp system, and the carp will be hungry again. So get out there, make some boilies. I hope you like this video. Comment below, subscribe. Trying to hit 1,000 subscribers so I can make the channel better for you here. So share this video or whatever. Anyways, peace out for now, fish homies. So one more thing I kind of forgot to talk about was the old ingredients. I kind of mentioned them in the beginning, but I just wanted to go over them at the end. So I'm gonna read you the ingredients for a 1,000 gram mix. So that's a 1 kilo mix. You can break this down and divide everything by 10 and make a 100 gram mix just to test it out, or whatever you wanna do. So anyways, the first thing we do was add 150 grams of Super Gold 60. That's a high protein little like a meal thing that you add in there, and it's made from corn and it's high protein, like I said. Next step is 150 grams of fish meal. I have the herring fish meal, I think it's called, from Big Carp Tackle, and that's another high protein ingredient that will also leak a lot of good oils into your water if it's warm enough. The next thing we're gonna add is a binder and kind of like a filler. So we're gonna add 100 grams of semolina. That's gonna help the boilies stick together and harden it up a little bit, stiffen it a little bit. And the next thing we're gonna add is 200 grams of soya flour, and that is another binder. It does have a good amount of protein in it, I think. Nothing close to like the Super Gold or the fish meal, but it's better than using corn flour in my opinion. The next thing you're gonna wanna add is something to add like a creaminess, I guess. I used tiger nut flour. I had 50 grams of that, but you can use like maybe peanut flour or almond meal or something like that. But I use the tiger nut flour. I got it off Amazon. I only use 50 grams, so it lasts a long time. The next thing we're gonna use is a little of coconut flour, another 50 grams. That gives it a nice smell and it gives it little white flakes on it. I think it kind of helps with the visibility as well, but it does give it a good taste and smell. The next thing I use is, you can also like kind of make up your own thing, but I put 100 grams of the bird food, and that's 50-50 pigeon food and hemp seed, and I ground it up in a coffee grinder and add that. Gives it a little crunch. And also if you pre-bait with pigeon food or hemp seed, it adds that to your boilie. And also the hemp adds a little oil, so it's like an all-around attractor, and it adds creaminess and everything. So the tiger nut and the bird food and coconut flour mix I like a lot. So once again, that's 50 grams of tiger nut flour, 50 grams of coconut flour, and 100 grams of the bird food mix. The next thing we're gonna add is another high protein thing. It can help your bait be buoyant as well, and it's soluble, so it's gonna leak off in the water. In my opinion, a pretty important ingredient is we're gonna add 150 grams of the milk powder, and that's just dry milk from the grocery store. Sometimes it can be a little difficult to find, but you can get that on Amazon as well. And last but not least, we're gonna add 30 grams of liver powder and 20 grams of turmeric. The liver powder, you can use green lip mussel or different things, just like high proteins and minerals, little additive. It's a huge boost for your bait if you use like green lip mussel or mussel powder, because the fish love that stuff. You only have to add a little bit, like I said, 30 grams in a 1,000 gram mix, so that's like 3% or something. The last ingredient, dry ingredient we add is the 20 grams of turmeric powder, and that's to give your bait a little spice. It probably has a little nutrients that the carp like, and it helps them feed more aggressively, and just another thing to add to make them want to come back more for your boilies. After you make your dry mix, you're gonna want to get into your wet ingredients, and like I said, I use 500 grams for the 1,000 gram mix of eggs in this, and I think it was a little not enough. So basically for a 1,000 gram mix of this, I would use 550 mils of the liquid egg mixture, and then I would add 20 mils of hemp oil, which is another attractor. It's gonna put oil in the water and bring all the fish are gonna follow that down to your bait. Then we add 20 mils of metamino. That's another thing like liver powder. It's just liquid liver, so when the fish get a taste of that, their appetite gets stimulated and they want more and feed more aggressively. Next, we're gonna add 10 mils of our flavor. You can mix and match your flavors, put whatever you want in there. And you don't have to use flavors from Big Carp Tackle. You don't have to use a carp flavor. You can use an extract or an essential oil or something like that. And we only put 10 mils of flavor in this 1,000 gram mix just because we don't want it too strong, or else the fish are gonna take a little bite and it's probably gonna be a little bitter or whatever, and they're not gonna want more. And last but not least, we don't have to add this, but I add 4 mils of the Sweet Aid, and that just gives the bait a more finished taste for it. The carp makes it more palatable for them. So with this, with these ingredients, I guarantee you will catch carp. Maybe not right away. Sometimes it takes a little bit for the carp to get used to boilies, especially in the United States, or if you're fishing on a river where there's fish coming in and out. But if you're on a little city lake or something, try and throw out maybe half of this 1,000-gram mix of your boilies, or maybe the whole thing, depending how many carp you think are in there. If it's a smaller lake, maybe throw out just half of this, maybe even a little less. But if you're at a bigger lake, a bigger city lake, then you can probably throw out the whole thing. If you're at a giant lake like Lake Castaic or something that we have here in California, then you're gonna wanna throw out a lot more, maybe like a half of a 5-gallon bucket, maybe a full 5-gallon bucket full of the boilies each night, and you will have them going crazy. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think of this video. Like I said, I know I already did an outro, but I forgot to add the ingredients. So peace out for now. Comment down below if you have some tips for me. Like I said, I'm not the best boilie maker, but I'm pretty sure I know what I'm doing at this point enough to catch carp. Well, I've caught a lot of carp with my own boilies. But anyways, if you like the video or you have any comments for me, hit me up down below. Or just like and subscribe, because I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, and once I do, I can make the channel a little more better and a little more fun for you guys. YouTube has all these limits. So anyways, subscribe to my channel and share it with all your friends who carp fish, or just people who fish in general that you want to get into carp fishing. Anyways, peace out for now, fish homies.